Hey, it's me again. Right on time with these reviews as always. In any event, Daredevil Born Again is finally here. After years of waiting, fans were finally able to catch up with all of their favorite characters from the classic Netflix series, except that almost wasn't the case. It's kind of crazy to me that they almost made a Daredevil series that was meant to be a continuation of the original without so much of the supporting cast returning. But luckily, Big Kevin made the boss call and wiped the slate clean, deciding to make a show that was more in line with the characters we've come to know and love. However, this kind of led to a big problem for me, and one that makes me a little unsure of how I feel about it overall. But first, some background info. I used to be a pretty big fan of the MCU. Yeah, not every movie was perfect, but the cast and the overarching story had me so hooked, and seeing it all build up to the 1-2 punch of Infinity War and Endgame, well, you all know how it went. These aren't exactly indie movies I'm talking about here. And yeah, they were pretty damn good. After Endgame had just about as satisfying a conclusion as I could have hoped for, I kind of figured that they'd never be able to top it, which is a sentiment that I think a lot of people shared. I really did try to keep up at first, though. I watched WandaVision and enjoyed the concept, but felt it wasn't executed very well. No Way Home and Guardians 3 were both a lot of fun in their own right, and I did watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but wasn't exactly a fan of it. And since then, I haven't really had the urge to watch any other project from the studio, which means that I am most definitely out of the loop.
Thank you.
Oops. Excuse me, apologies. My daughter, Kamala. She's in California visiting some friends there.
I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. However, when this show was announced, I knew I would be watching. I, like many others, love the Netflix series. It hit heights that most other MCU projects could only dream of hitting, and I loved every bit of the cast, writing, and cinematography. So, needless to say, I was cautiously on board when I heard that we'd be getting a continuation of this story. I thought Season 3 wrapped everything up pretty well, save for that minor cliffhanger at the end, but I was curious to see what direction they could take the story from here. So let's see what I thought about this season of Daredevil Born Again, and I can decide once and for all if it was worth the wait. I'll say right away that this season starts off with an unequivocal bang. The opening of episode 1 had me so unbelievably hooked. Having that comfortable feeling of all the original characters back together just to have it ripped away in a second was so unnerving but incredibly narratively effective. Foggy's death is something that I kind of figured would happen. They didn't exactly try to hide it. But the way that it's executed is just so heartbreaking and emotional. And then following it up with the original show's signature one-take fight that ends with Matt taking an extremely dark turn, like you just cannot ask for a better opening than that. The rest of the episode is pretty great too, with Matt coping with the aftermath and Fisk's rise to power. I love that final shot at the end where it seems like they're looking up at each other, but they're actually far away. It's a perfect way of showing us what's on each character's mind. After this episode, however, that's where my problems start to kick in. Like I mentioned before, this series went through a pretty major creative overhaul. They filmed an entire 9 episodes before the big bosses decided to go in a different direction. According to all the reports, this old show didn't have a whole lot of Daredevil in it, despite what the title might suggest. It focused more on Matt's day-to-day life and his job as a lawyer, and most shockingly, as mentioned before, featured almost none of the supporting characters from the OG show. And this choice is truly perplexing to me, so it makes sense why a change needed to happen. However, they decided to keep a bulk of the episodes from the shoot, episodes 2 to 7 to be exact. They reshot 1, 8, and 9, and left almost the entire middle chunk of the show untouched, save for a few cuts and additions here and there. And boy oh boy, you can definitely tell. For starters, it's just shot differently. The new episodes featured more of the dramatic lighting and nighttime setting reminiscent of the original series, while the old episodes were mostly shot in the day with that, frankly, ugly, bland MCU gray. The tone between these episodes is also wildly different. 1, 8, and 9 are all dark and moody, while the other episodes are kinda meandering and relatively low stakes. I say relatively because there are a few moments here and there that felt in line with the new tone the show was trying to set, like all the stuff with Muse, which I thought was the most interesting aspect of this middle portion. But this kind of leads into my third problem. You see, this show has a lot going on. You have Matt's struggle with whether to embrace Daredevil, you have his new relationship, you have the trial of Hector Ayala, you have Muse, you have Kingpin's marital problems, his rise to power as mayor, his shady criminal dealings, and the list just goes on. And each of these are individually interesting, but they don't exactly all fit together perfectly. Honestly, for most of the show, Matt and Kingpin's stories feel pretty separate from each other. although I am a fan of the way the key character moments for them are shown at the same time and are intercut with each other. It's a great way of showing the similarities of these two characters' journeys and how they're not so different from each other in a lot of ways. But yeah, this lack of cohesion between story elements makes the show honestly kind of a mess, which feels like such a far cry from the tight, singular focused Netflix show. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like having Matt's main struggle be, oh, I don't know if I should be Daredevil anymore, just feels so tired to me at this point. We saw it in the Netflix show already, and it's such a common struggle for heroes in the comic book world that I kind of was just hoping to see a new angle for this character in particular. And it's not that it doesn't even make sense either. I like how he attempts to kill Bullseye after he's pushed to this absolute limit by him, and it's logical that it would make him want to hang it up, but I just kind of wanted something unique out of that, you know what I mean? However, one thing about this show that is absolutely firing on all cylinders are the performances. Every actor from the original show slips so comfortably back into these old roles like it's nothing. I thought Camar de los Reyes had such an emotional and sympathetic performance as Hector, and it's a true tragedy that he passed away from cancer last December. A truly exceptional talent gone way too soon. Deborah Ann Wool and Eldon Henson's brief but impactful appearances were great as expected. Wilson Bethel as Bullseye is one of my favorite MCU villain performances I've ever seen, and he's just as terrifying as ever in this show. Vincent D'Onofrio honestly doesn't get as much material to work with as I thought he would, but he's excellent nonetheless. And that goes for Ayelet Zurer as Vanessa too. But my two favorite... Hold on. Wait a minute. Is that Lalo? But my two favorite performances on the show have to be none other than Jon Bernthal and of course, Charlie Cox. Bernthal is just so much fun as the Punisher. I could never get tired of this character, and I'm so excited for the Punisher special that's coming out soon. But Charlie Cox, man, my god. This guy is just acting circles around everyone else. He truly was born to play this role, and he pulls off every single side of this character with pure perfection. He might be the best casted MCU character of all time. I said what I said. There's some other small things that I really liked about this season too. I thought the needle drops that they sprinkled in here and there are very well placed and help to make the show feel like something more than a typical MCU show, especially the Radiohead song at the end. I'm not going to play it for copyright reasons, but if you've seen the show, you'll know what I mean. What a great song to end this season off on. I also like how every episode has the little interviews from Ben Urich's niece. It helps to give the city a lot more personality and realism while also paying a nice homage to one of the key characters from the original series. It also is pretty cool to see Michael Gandolfini in a new project, and I think his character is a lot of fun as a Fisk fanboy who happens to work for him. And for all the complaining I've been doing about the show's structure, it is able to stick the landing pretty satisfyingly. Having Punisher and Daredevil team up to fight off Fisk's army of corrupt cops in his own apartment is so much fun to watch. And then having Matt still fighting his darker side while Kingpin, embraces his. It's a nice dichotomy that sets up Season 2 pretty well, which I am still most definitely interested in. Like I said before, for all the problems this show has, it still does feel like a continuation of Matt's story that has all of the basic key elements in place. Even though it's fated to be compared to its admittedly much stronger counterpart, honestly just seeing these characters again is enough to keep me watching all the way through. Even at the show's worst, when it's being kind of slow or not fitting all together perfectly for me, I was still very much engaged, which is why I don't really know how to feel about it. It's hard to judge a show that's basically two different ones Frankenstein together. So I guess I'll just have to end by saying, we'll see what Season 2 brings. Given all the reports, it should be entirely shot and written under the new showrunners, which will hopefully mean a more cohesive story, and maybe even one that will show me a new angle for Matt's character. But I guess time will tell. Until then, I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10 for Daredevil Born Again.